I've always been a person who, from a very young age, was not content to be a spectator.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lily, and I'm SPON's Youth Corps coordinator, as well as the producer of this podcast, The Current. I'm so excited to share with you the very first episode of this brand new podcast with our guest, Gaddi Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez has served in pretty much every level of civic life, including as U.S. Ambassador to the UN and as former Peace Corps director under President George W. Bush. He is also a descendant of migrant workers and a first-gen college student, which is what led him to this life of promoting opportunities for children in underserved communities. It also makes him a passionate proponent of civic engagement, and so the perfect person to answer my questions about youth civic participation in Orange County. We'll be back with a new episode before you know it, so please follow our podcast pages wherever you get your podcasts. And again, thanks so much for tuning in. Ambassador Vasquez, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
Would you mind giving listeners a little history on you and your accomplishments?
Well, I've been very fortunate to have served at every level of government, city, county, state, and federal. I am the descendant of a migrant farm working family, first generation college graduate, and grew up in an environment where poverty was pervasive in our family because of economics. And as migrant farm workers and many who understand that lifestyle or background will know that it's a challenging and difficult environment. But we were always encouraged to achieve a higher education, to earn a college degree, and I became the first person in the history of my family to earn college degrees and then eventually go on to a career in public service. And so I began my career as a police officer in the city of Orange and believed that that would be my career path to move up the ranks of the department and eventually achieve some role of leadership. But as things will happen, things took different turns, twists and turns that resulted in my being able to serve in a variety of capacities. I've been appointed by three California governors to commissions and full-time jobs, and then by two U.S. presidents to federal commissions and also full-time responsibilities. So I've been able to achieve this well-rounded balance, if you will, of service where I have been able to make an impact and a difference in ways that I never anticipated when I embarked on the first stages of my career.
Was there something as a young person that you were thinking about or something that you were motivated by that inspired you to pursue public service as a career?
I've always been a person who, from a very young age, was not content to be a spectator. And it started in elementary school when the principal of the school was circulating a petition to try to identify a student spokesperson to promote the sale of safety bracelets for each of the students. And I still have mine. It was a metal bracelet back then with your name, your address, just in the event that you got lost or something happened that you needed to be identified. And the minute the principal asked for a volunteer, I immediately raised my hand. When they needed a speaker to speak on Memorial Day at the flagpole in front of the school, I raised my hand. And that followed me through middle school. High school, I was elected student board trustee of the Orange Unified School District, representing Orange High School on two occasions. And so I always felt it was important to get involved, to have my voice heard, and to be hopefully a positive influence in helping shape some of the concerns and issues that were at hand. And I was just never content to be a spectator. And so throughout my life, I have felt motivated to be smart, be thoughtful, be strategic, but be unafraid to express my views and perspectives and offer my perspectives when I felt they were of some value.
I think it's a unique personality and a unique person who says, there's a problem and I think I have a good solution and I want to get involved. I think many people my age are concerned about challenges in the world around them, but perhaps think that civic engagement is something that other people do, that quote unquote other people are involved in, or somebody else is handling that, or somebody else is going to solve that. What would you say to people who doubt that their involvement makes a difference or that it matters?
Well, we are fortunate to live in a society where our voices can be heard. It's important for us to find our voice. I think it also needs to be understood that civic engagement means a lot of things. I was raised in a family where the belief was that the vote is your voice. It's an equalizer. It doesn't matter where you are in the economic strata of the American economy. Your vote matters. Your vote counts, and it only counts if you show up. And so I was prone and inclined to let my voice be heard, up to and including voting, but also expressing my views when I felt I could offer a valued and constructive perspective that could make things better for my world and the world around me.
Do you have any examples of perhaps a time where civic engagement in your experience, either when you were a civic leader or a participant in the process, really made a difference in that process or turned that tide, as you say?
I was serving as I was waiting confirmation to be the director of the United States Peace Corps when the attacks of 9/11, September 11th, occurred. And in the aftermath of those attacks, there were some very serious decisions that had significant implications for the Peace Corps. We together, and I say we, the team that I had, the executive team that we had, joined together, used our knowledge, our experience to develop a strategy that resulted in the protection and the security of Peace Corps volunteers serving around the world. It's important to be able to make those tough decisions and be unafraid of those decisions that are important and vital when you confront a major challenge. Be not afraid, and you have to be driven by your values, the principles, your knowledge, your experience, combining all of that with hopefully some wise and counsel and advice from those around you.
When I try to put myself in the shoes of a Peace Corps director during a national emergency and a terrorist attack, it's very hard to embrace the be not afraid aspect. What are the arenas that young people can sort of practice their leadership skills or their decision-making skills in advance of perhaps careers in public service or in the civic sphere? Because it can't just be that you know what to do, that you
Right,
become the
right,
director and you know what to do. So how do we
right.
practice?
I think first of all you have to have the right mindset, and the first mindset is you can't be content sitting up in the stands. You have to resolve that something you care about is important enough, and you're going to step down into the arena, and you're going to take the good, the bad, and the ugly. As I said earlier, I was a person who never moved away from an opportunity to state my views or like selling those little bracelets. My job was to convince the students that these were important enough that everybody should buy one. When I say be unafraid, you have to find that which drives you as a person, as a leader, and then refine your messaging so that you can make an impact and make a difference. Part of my process was I grew up in poverty. I was the son of migrant farm workers, and I fully understand what that struggle is like when you are trying to be the first generation college graduate. I know what that is like. I've lived it. And because I've lived it, I can carry the voice that says these are the things that can occur, things that you need to achieve, and outcomes that you strive for.
I want to revisit something you mentioned in that process, which is about the people around you, the people you surround yourself with. Those relationships that are so foundational to being able to do this work and lean in and be brave, those must be founded on massive trust. How can people begin to build these trust-filled relationships with others around them, others in their community, at their school, in their organization, so that they can then kind of have this net around them while they work to kind of support that work?
Yeah, I don't have the ultimate, definition on that one, but I will just say that my practice is that trust begins with a relationship. I'll listen to someone and I'll think, gosh, she's really articulate, or she's really articulate. And boy, does, she have the passion coupled with the ability to communicate and to articulate. And look, we live in a society, in a world today where communication, whether it's written or spoken, is so important and so vital. So I will occasionally just sit back and listen to what someone else has to say because I think part of great leadership is also being an effective listener. And that's critically important. When you dominate and fill a room at the expense of others, then that's not a good model. It's important to listen, it's important to absorb, and that's where I begin to identify people that I think I'd like to have on my team, would like to be affiliated with, or they might be in a leadership role that I want to be able to affiliate myself with because I believe in that person. I've been in roles of leadership, but trust me, I am not beyond following someone else who I believe has a greater ability or capacity to address, to lead the issues that are at hand. Building a relationship usually can lead you to defining and measuring the trust that you can have in someone else, whether they be a leader or a colleague or a companion or an associate or an affiliate of some kind.
I want to pivot just briefly. SPON in general and the SPON Youth Corps are kind of predicated on this idea that it is important to be engaged in your local civic government and that good things do happen when you participate. I'm curious to know what would you say happens in communities where people stop participating in local government? What are some of the risks associated if we are not engaged?
Well, the consequences are is that we lose the ability to hold leadership accountable. It's critically important that the citizenry hold their elected officials, and I say this at all levels, hold their elected or appointed officials, for that matter, accountable, whether it's going down to City Hall to express a view on a new park or a new fire station or something that's being changed, modified, closed, is critically important because it also, and having been an elected official, I can tell you that when people come to the podium and articulate their message to the policymakers, it can have an impact, and it can change and shift the tide of the direction that maybe a public body was taking, but there may be new information that becomes available to that public policy making body that then impacts the decision making to achieve a better outcome. So you can't have that unless you hear the voices of the people who will be most directly affected by the decisions. Yeah.
You mentioned the importance of occasionally there's new information, or more than occasionally, there's new information that changes the course of a process. We're living in an era where information is constantly available and yet always less trustworthy or challenging to derive the provenance of a piece of information. Do you have advice for people who are like, I want to learn about a new city project that's going on in my neighborhood, or I want to understand new initiatives that are on the ballot next year?
Let's say that Community Y is working on a project, trying to model something new and innovative within the jurisdiction of a city. Well, now you can access information where you can ask, has anyone else tried this? Anyone else in the US done this? And you can find models that may be similar, better, different, that may help inform not only you as a citizen what might be possible, but also inform policymakers to be able to put that on the table because the access to information is boundless. What is important is that we validate and verify the information that we're representing to be accurate, to be truthful, to be straight up. So that's a critically important process is to inform ourselves. I nowadays I speak a lot in different venues and at different events and whatnot. And recently I had a situation where one of the people attending a speech that I gave called me afterwards and told me how annoyed she was that during my speech there were so many people on their devices. And I said to her, I said, no, 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 because she was suggesting they were not paying attention and so on and so forth. I said, no, they're actually fact checking me, or they've heard something that has stirred their mind, and now they're just chasing it down to see, wow, he just said something, I want to chase that down. And to me, and I said, so no, there's no offense taken. That's the access to immediate information that we have, which makes us better stewards of trust, of confidence that we have in our communities, and also equipping us with the data and the information that we can take to City Hall to the benefit of the people sitting up on the dais. Because if they're really listening and you really introduce something that is unique or different or something that has not been articulated or considered in that hall of government, you're now helping to influence the process by engaging in your civic duty to assist, to inform, and to impact your future.
For anyone listening who is now suitably motivated, who feels like, okay, I understand and I'm with you and I should probably, head to my next city council meeting or OC supervisors meeting, what is the first step? What's the first step for a young person who wants to get involved in a local issue?
Well, I think as I did, you find something that you see, you read about, you hear about, and it becomes something you're concerned about, whether it's in your local community or it's the county or maybe even a state policy that's being thought about that you engage in connecting with some organization or an affiliate or an association that is actively engaged in trying to influence, impact, inform a policy that is being enacted, or legislation for that matter. Part of the aspect or the beauty of a democracy is that we can agree to disagree, but we can respect each other. We can have an exchange of ideas, and it all begins by participating in some form of the process. It's a matter of identifying where is that niche or that opportunity that is rewarding and fulfilling to your desire and drive to make a difference in our society.
I want to wrap things up with our lightning round. So this is just 30 seconds where I'm going to ask you some lightning fast questions that you can answer in a couple of words or a sentence. I am starting my clock right now. First question is, who inspired you most as a young leader?
Oh, I had numerous people who inspired me as a young leader. Everybody from Governor George McMahon to the first police chief I worked for were individuals who helped mold who I am today by virtue of the values and principles that they taught me.
Best advice you ever received?
That the testings of life are sent to make us and not to break us.
Best state in America for a road trip?
For a road trip, hmm, California.
One book every young person should read?
A Team of Rivals.
One word that defines great citizenship?
It's not one word, but I would say love of country.
To wrap things up, I just want to ask this final question. What do you hope today's young people will carry forward into the next 250 years?
I hope they carry a sense of purpose, a strong belief that our democracy is still the greatest nation on the face of the earth in the history of humanity, and that we have some great times ahead, but part of that will require civic engagement and civic participation at all levels of our governance.
Gaddi Vasquez, thank you so much for your participation today. Thank you just for spending time with us. It's been absolutely a pleasure.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. That was a conversation with Gaddi Vasquez, and we'll be back soon with new episodes. Make sure to watch our podcast page wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on Instagram at SPON Youth Corps, that's Corps with a PS, for exclusive clips and ways to get involved. See you next time.